Mary Ellen is a powerhouse. You're glowing with what you can tell. You have literally found your purpose, it seems.
Football coach came to me and they weren't instructing the snatch and he needed help on how to do that specific lift. Springtime was coming around the corner and now he had spring football. And now I had all these football boys. I had 60 plus boys in the weight room.
Oh, cool.
One of the boys made a comment to me and said, "We're not skipping stretching ever again."
The fact that they're showing up.
They're showing up.
Wow, what a journey.
It's been quite a journey.
Hi, everybody. Here today with Mary Ellen Rivieccio.
Rivieccio.
See, second time I said that incorrectly. So excited. As you know, this channel is all about strength, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically. Mary Ellen is a powerhouse. I am so excited to have her here today so we can talk about her strengths, not only that she has inside of herself, but gives so freely to her family and to others. Such an interesting story. Mary Ellen, welcome.
Thank you.
So excited to have you here. Yes, yes, yes.
I'm kind of embarrassed the way you just introduced me. Thank you.
You're such a humble person. Yes.
I know. I feel, this is first time for anything.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Well, thank you for coming.
Absolutely.
Definitely. So tell us a little bit about, I know one of the reasons that I wanted you on the channel, as I told you earlier, is that when I saw Joe and the kids one day, John and I were out and I said, "How is Mary Ellen?" And he began to tell me and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I have to have you on the show." Because to me, you exemplify what it's like as a woman to have like so many things going on at the same time.
Yes,
Right?
juggling
Right?
so much.
Exactly.
For sure.
But you're doing it. And as I said to you, I haven't seen you in a while and you are glowing.
Thank you.
Seriously, you're glowing with what you can tell. You have literally found your purpose, it seems. Yeah. So tell us about that.
Sure. It's been a roller coaster, but yeah, I began the journey, playing sports growing up. Always loved it. Thought that was what I was going to go to school for and thought I was going to be some type of professional athlete in some realm. But that didn't, my path kind of switched gears a little bit. And I went from being, let's say, an athletic training student to exercise phys to finally having to choose a different major in order to finish. Because otherwise I'd have to do extra financial aid, which would put me back a whole year. So it took me on a path to go pursue my master's in education. And through teaching, I really enjoyed it. But I think there was always something about fitness that was missing. And it wasn't until I found Hard Exercise Works, this gym, which is kind of a boot camp, CrossFit-esque like, that I really found my passion for working out. And it led me to the path where I got to coach and kind of instruct different age groups. And I really enjoyed it. It didn't feel like work. It felt like teaching. It felt kind of natural. But the school kept calling me. There was still some piece to the schooling that I was missing. And I went back to teaching and was given the opportunity to do some PE classes. And that's where I discovered that I was really enjoying more so. But I wanted to take it to another level. And I was at the middle school setting. And I was really looking to do more coaching of athletes and taking them to, let's say, lifting. And it just wasn't the right fit for me. And I found an opening at Palm Beach Gardens High School. And never in my wildest dreams did I think I was going to do any type of coaching. I just thought I was going to go and, maybe teach PE, maybe help some of the athletes. But their weight room was phenomenal. And the coach that's in there now, he's the wrestling coach. He's amazing. And it was great to kind of, check out his workouts and I just jumped in, and on the periods that I had off, I worked out with the students and I learned so much more about my body and awareness and the things that I thought you should be doing and versus what, you could be doing. So fortunately I was able to then transition into having a weightlifting class. And they put most of the athletes for football into this class. And it kind of happened not on accident, but I was coaching with the girls doing some lifting, and I was helping them because, I love going to the gym and doing clean and jerks, snatches. So just to help them to get the technique down was just normal to me, but it kind of unfolded into a coaching gig.
Mm-hmm.
And so then the football coach came to me, and he wanted to know if I wanted to help because they weren't instructing the snatch, and he needed help on how to do that specific lift. And so I said, sure. So I kind of just took over, and before I knew it, springtime was coming around the corner, and now he had spring football. And now I had all these football boys. I had 60 plus boys in the weight room.
Oh, cool.
And I had to get creative on how to teach them the technique so that they could touch the weight. And then I kind of just fell in love with it, and I wanted to learn more. And I found my friends back home are in physical therapy, and they kind of enlightened me on Mike Boyle and his strength and conditioning for functional athletes. Yeah. And I was able to go up and get certified and complete their program this past summer.
Gosh. Congratulations.
Thank you. I loved it. It was so awesome. It happened to be back home in Mass, so we all got to go up there. And then I was able to bring what I learned back here and apply it into programming and working more functionally with the athletes this year.
Wow. Wow, what a journey.
It's been quite a journey.
Yes.
For sure.
When did you know initially when you wanted to get involved in phys ed?
I think it was probably more about 10 years ago. I was in the classroom. I was probably burnt out, a little tired. I was teaching science, so I kind of liked it, but I wanted to do more of the physical components of it. Like when I would do labs, I wanted to do let's talk about jumping and the impact it would have. And so I think quite then I knew I need to go move, and I need to be in a classroom or an environment where I could instruct or do stuff with the kids like that and not just feel like I got to sit down.
Sure.
And then lecture. So I think that's what really, and I think my process about teaching PE, I looked at it, I didn't see it taking me to coaching weightlifting.
Right.
I thought maybe more like game environments of younger children. But now my eyes are completely open to being in high school and maybe even beyond, working with young adults, and helping them understand, okay, you're training for your sport, but this is a lifelong journey. You need this for the rest of your life.
Yes. Yes.
You've got to learn these habits.
Wow. The school is so fortunate to have you.
Thank
you. My goodness. No, I mean, my brain is firing of all the things you just said, because I just think about girls.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Right? Possibly their hesitancy to lift weights.
I still get that. I still have girls that I will ask to come and lift with me, and they'll say, or they're athletes, and I'll say, why don't you come, lift? Your season isn't until the spring. I don't want to get too bulky.
Right. So
there's still this miseducation about, the importance of lifting and bulky and the nutrition piece. I mean, everything is I really am trying to bring that whole piece to the puzzle to them.
Yes.
Because they're not getting it.
Right. Right. And like you said, this is so much not just about now, but of course,
future,
their entire lives moving forward, and their muscle growth, their bone growth,
absolutely
everything, and then nutrition. So you're able to teach them about nutrition as well.
I am. I was fortunate enough that I went ahead and I worked with USA Lifting, and I got certified for level 1 and 2 coaching. And through all their stuff, they have a plethora of information. They have a whole nutrition piece, especially for athletes. And they have wonderful graphics that I was able to incorporate to kind of give the students at my school, more of a picture of here's your plate.
Right.
What needs to be on it. Let's dumb it down and make it real basic. And so they understand, because, I'll say to them, you need to have protein, but do they know what protein is?
Sure.
Do they know what a carbohydrate is?
Right.
So most of the days they're coming in, they're eating chips,
right.
And they haven't had anything all day. And now I'm asking them to work out, and they are tired. They're sleepy. They have no energy, or they're sore, or they have an injury. And I try to explain to them that, this injury could be healed more if you were to look at what you're eating.
Right.
Think about that, how you're inflaming it more, but it's a lot for them to kind of take in.
Yeah. And it's not only relearning, it might be educating them for the very, very first time, right? But it's also so much that's out there on the media about what to eat and not eat. And then there's also the push to be thin and all of that. So you're literally breaking barriers on so many levels.
I'm trying to. The one other area where I work in that's hard for me is culturally. The population that I work with, I think, even from the parents down, need that education piece about the importance of nutrition, about, let's say, spending more money to buy certain organic foods versus, necessarily what's BOGO, or things of that nature. That's a challenge that I do find as well, to making sure that the students are properly fed and hydrated. That's the other thing that I had to deal with for the first time. It was a challenge this year. It was my football boys were cramping. And they cramping to the point where they was so severe that they had to get out of the game, and they had to, besides drinking the pickle juice and all this, like if it kept continuing, they were going to have to go to the hospital. That's how bad I was getting.
Wow.
So try to talk to them about electrolytes, about, hydration. It can't just be the day of.
Right.
Food, same thing, has to be, throughout the week, not just game day.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot there.
There's so much to it.
Yeah, sure. And when you first started, doing the coaching
3 years ago,
have you found, like, what's been the difference for you from then to now as far as relating to the students?
Really, it's the consistency of showing up, meaning I think that at this particular school, they had so much turnover that is this woman going to be back next year?
Right.
And the trust. And so I had to spend a lot of time, with especially the football boys, to gain their respect. And I spent all of spring ball. I spent all summer with them. And, even every day, they'll ask me questions about, like, if I wasn't in school for a day, let's say, well, where were you? It's kind of like, why weren't you here? There's that I think that piece of doubt in the back of their minds.
Right.
Culturally with this group that I have too, there's certain things that I'm not accustomed to, making eye contact with adults or people that are, I don't know, above you. That's a big thing in one of the cultures that I work with, is that they don't make eye contact. So it's hard for me because I was always taught to look that person in the face and the eye, whereas I'll have students that will chronically look down. It's almost like I feel like they feel like I'm yelling at them, and they don't want to hear it. So that's been the most challenging piece, is really developing a relationship with each and every student in order to get them to buy in, so to speak, to what I'm telling them will help them. Right.
And what have you found success in what you've been doing for the last 3 years?
I have in small pieces. At one of the games, the boys weren't doing well. One of the boys made a comment to me and said, "We're not skipping stretching ever again." We didn't. On one Friday, they were being silly, and I turned off, our stretching piece that we were working on before the game, and because they weren't taking it seriously, and I thought it was, I was wasting my time, and so it was kind of like a light switch when this one student, came up and said to me, they made the connection of the stretching. Or just the other day, my weightlifting girls, the first thing that I have them all do is grab a foam roller, start foam rolling on that. And just to hear them talk amongst themselves about, oh, this feels so good, and I got to get one of these at home. And, so it's when, like, it's just the small wins.
Sure, of course. Yes. Success defined in so many different ways. The fact that they're showing up.
Yes.
Yeah. And that you can, your own cultural awareness and education and learning to deal with different people, different ages.
Different ages.
That's got to be, through high school. So you're doing all of high school kids.
All high school, 9th through 12th.
That is so incredible. Well, when I was going to school for my social work, I was a supervisor for a lot of social workers that were coming into the field, right? And I said, be sure if you're going to choose to work with adolescents that you like them.
Mm-hmm.
Right, Mary Ellen? Because
so true.
It is because they know.
They totally know.
They completely know if you're there for them and for their best interest or not.
It's so funny that you say that because I had a mind shift when I moved up to high school. I had formerly been taught to be a teacher, and to have your classroom management in order. And how do you do that? I've been teaching, fortunately, for over 25 years. And a long time ago, it was a lot different, like the kids were expected to act a certain way. And so now me stepping into the higher level, the high school kids, here I am thinking, I could try this. It's not necessarily going to work. But, I had to think about, okay, well, they're not going to buy in for, like, let's say a piece of candy, but really they are going to buy in for that piece of candy if I just phrase it a little bit differently, so I had to think about that. And the old me would have said, no, you can't come in here, like follow the rules. But I've learned to, hey, how you doing? How's your day today?
Right.
And then talking to the student and finding out, okay, something just happened and they are falling apart.
Yes.
And so, they're not going to be able to follow the rules as strictly. Like maybe they need a few extra minutes. Maybe they need to go to the bathroom. Maybe they need to get a snack or something. So just being super strict up front does not work. And I have found that being a little more understanding, although it looks soft, goes a long way. They're more respectful to you if you talk to them like they're a person.
Sure,
one-on-one versus, yelling at them.
Right. So you've had that switch of you see the person first and then the work is different.
It's totally
versus the other way around.
Right. And honestly, just the other day, like we didn't even work out. We all sat down and I had a whole list of questions, about our streak is not good right now. We're not winning. And so I wanted to bring the boys together to have them understand why they're not winning. And it's really comes down to they're not functioning as a team. They're working as individuals. Mm-hmm. And I wanted them to kind of think about what are you doing well personally? What could you work on? And how are we going to do, like, how do we get there? Like, what do we need to do? Mm-hmm. And also to maybe hear a little bit of critical components of criticism of what, maybe you're missing, and it was hard for them, but they finally started to open up. Mm-hmm. The athletic director came in and he helped facilitate it. And I felt like it was a start in the right direction.
Right.
For them to understand that they need to take accountability and not just blame.
Right.
Which is what is happening.
Mm. Wow.
So we're still working on it. I've been trying a lot of different incentives, and the last incentive I tried was free lunch. And so I said to the students, I showed them, there was a movie in the 90s called The Program a long time ago. It was controversial when it came out because it had some scenes in there that were bad in terms of people were copying them and getting injured. But there was one scene where Omar Epps makes a fumble and the coach tells him in practice that he's to carry this ball around wherever he goes, and that if anybody else returns it to the coach, that he's in big trouble. And so there's a scene where he's in class with the rest of his buddies and he's falling asleep. And one of the players behind him knocks the ball and the ball goes flying forward. And you see all these kids in like a giant lecture hall, like jumping on top of each other to get the ball. Mm. And at the end, Omar Epps says, "Oh, sorry, I dropped my ball." And it was, the professor is like, "Oh my gosh." So I showed that clip to them and I said, "Okay, let's test this out. I'm going to give this to the quarterback. Jordan, I'm going to have you take the ball and I want you to keep this ball all day. And I gave parameters. You can't beat them up. Practice time, it's off the table. You can't interrupt a class, but carry it around. And whoever brings it back to me gets free lunch. So they were all into it. They were all excited. It seemed like it was going to work. I went by first lunch and he didn't have the ball out and I was confused and he had put it down. And so then he picked it back up and I don't think it registered to all of them the importance of having it out all day long.
Okay.
Not just for certain times.
Mm-hmm.
So once the boys heard that it could be Chipotle, it could be tropical smoothie, like what was going to really be offered.
Right.
Then we got serious about it. And one of the boys knocked it free. And the quarterback was like, no, that doesn't count. And so I had some behavior issues going on right there. But I said, you got to problem solve. You have to get this back. This is what you're doing as a team. You're not blaming, right? You got to figure out how to get this back. You're in the middle of your game. Let's say you get sacked, something happens. You got to get the ball back. So I left. But unfortunately, my experiment got shut down by one of the administrators because I think the boys were a little too exuberant at lunch.
Gotcha.
And so the football ended up coming back to me separately. But I still owe the other boy lunch. So
well, it sounds like you have such an open mind. You're trying so many different things to work with the kids.
Yeah, anything is going to help them.
Sure.
I don't want them to go through the pit holes that we'd had to go through.
Right.
Yes. Like learn from us. And I remember hearing that from the coaches back in the day. And you're like, oh my God. But I don't feel like I'm that much older. I know I am. I know to them I'm ancient. But I still work out with them. I still get out there. I still do, the lifts. I try to, I want to show them that no matter what age you are, you can do this.
Sure.
There's no like, oh, I'm this age, I'm sore, I'm this, and at whatever they are, 16, 17, some of them even younger, oh, miss, I'm so sore. Oh, I can't, it's always, they're already starting to, have the I can'ts.
Right.
And try to help them to overcome those and understand, you can. It's just putting in the work.
Yes, definitely. And what about your own routine? What do you do to stay in shape?
So it's evolved. Having kids, it's been difficult. I used to go in the afternoons, and then I shifted to the mornings. So sometimes I'm able to get a little something in the morning, whether it's a quick little walk with the dogs. Maybe I have, some dumbbells at home. I might do a quick little 10, 15-minute workout. But more than often than not, I've been fortunate to be able to do some stuff during the day at school.
Great.
So I'll put the workout out there for the boys. I'll walk around, I'll instruct, I'll, correct form, and then I'll demonstrate and I'll, jump in and do some. So it's kind of nice that I feel like I get to the period that I have off, I'll go in beforehand, and that's when I'll work out, where I feel like I can work out more. I'm actually working out with the students.
So are you doing mostly lifting when you're working out?
Mostly lifting.
Mm-hmm.
When football season's kind of more towards the end, I'll incorporate ultimate frisbee. So we'll do like once a week, will be ultimate frisbee where, they're learning just how to throw a frisbee, but how to work with each other and use teammates versus, just throwing it and having someone run all the way down the end of the field. It's more game-like, making them think.
Mm-hmm.
And then I've incorporated, I call it stretching, even though it's more yoga on Fridays. I am still working to get them to take it more seriously. And some of them really have, but they're immature. So, anytime you do a stretch that is beyond them, someone will make a noise and then they're like little kids and everybody's giggling. But there's a few last week that I could see them when she was sitting and we were instructing on to, kind of like have a minute to,
Mm-hmm.
Close your eyes. And then they were doing it. So it's not all of them, but I'll take, 5 of them.
Sure.
I'll take as many as they learn now because they do like having that Friday of that stretch recovery,
Sure.
yoga, whatever you want to call it.
Sure. And again, so many things are going through my mind as you're speaking, because since you've been there 3 years, have any of the, obviously some of the kids have graduated,
Yes.
right? So have any of those students come back or said something to you? I bet.
I haven't specifically, well, so one of the girls came back. She comes back and helps. She graduated early and she is in the Army. And so she comes back to help with powerlifting and also with her flag team. So I get to see her. She went and bought the lifting shoes, like the little things that, now I buy like a set of the lifting shoes, the equipment so we can have them. But, when I first started out, we didn't have those. So, sharing with the girls, like the little things like, okay, I got more chalk, wrist wraps if you need them. Not necessarily belts, but, sometimes we talk about the use of belts when we need them, but more or less, just the proper equipment, like, okay, those sneakers aren't going to work for this lifting. They're more running shoes, or just even having the right bottoms and top on to make it all work. So now I see them now having those things,
Yeah.
and having an awareness to do that.
Sure. Yeah. You're like opening up their minds into so many different things.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't start lifting till I was in my 50s. So now to realize, wow, had I started back then, right? I mean, whoa.
Same. I didn't start till my 30s.
Yeah.
And it's funny because the kids will say, Miss, when did you start? And you're like, oh, I was like recently,
Right. Exactly.
And they're like in high school and they're like, I'm like, you got to be able to do a pull-up. You got to be able to pull yourself up. And they're just like, I can't, so it's neat because I always want to make sure that I can do that. I don't want to say you got to try this and I can't do it.
And you haven't. Yeah.
So that's the main thing. So that's why I continually work out in class with them or try to.
Sure.
So that they can see
an example.
Well, I just want them to listen to me and say, okay, she knows what she's talking about. But You're right. I mean, it is kind of nice.
Yeah, definitely. So how do you juggle everything? Because again, you have a family, you have a husband, 2 kids, and dogs. I just heard you say plural.
I know, we have dogs.
You have how many dogs?
We have 2 dogs now.
Okay, so you have 2 dogs. You have your full-time work as a teacher.
Yes.
And then you have your coaching.
Yes.
So how do you juggle all of that emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually?
As a family, we prioritize church, we and God. We try to make every Sunday. It doesn't always happen, but we try. The kids every Wednesday, though, they love going to youth group. So Wednesday night is their night. They totally enjoy it. I every morning at least spend 10, 15 minutes reading Jesus Calling, reading the Bible, just having some quiet time to kind of process my thoughts with God. I know Joe takes time each day. He might not necessarily read out of a devotional, but I know that he also puts God first in his life. For him, going to meetings is the number one thing. And I think that is part of being spiritually grounded as well. So I think that what's helped us to kind of work as a family unit, stay as a team. We try to have, dinner at least once a week where we all are sitting down together. And most of the time, I'd say 3 nights out of the 7, we all sit and chit chat. And every night we say, okay, what's your highlight? What's your one highlight from today? And it might be that, my group got the Skittles or, I get extra whatever, but it's their one positive thing for the day. So and that just kind of came out of the spur of the moment, It wasn't anything we decided. So it works. And the kids want to go to church and to do that stuff. I feel like I don't force them ever to go, or do any of that.
Right.
So that's kind of what has helped us, I think.
So your spiritual world is the center, obviously, from what you're saying. How about what, like just emotionally and mentally keeping you stable in doing all of these pieces?
Having an open communication with my husband, Joe, is so important. I feel super comfortable to be able to talk to him about anything. And at nighttime, we always sit down, we'll watch something. That's kind of the way we connect.
Right.
And even though we're sitting there not talking to each other, we're with each other. And just the fact that we're near each other, I think is what helps, because if I'm like, oh, I'm going to go lay down early, I'm tired. He's kind of like, you're not going to watch? I feel like he just wants me to be next to him,
right.
And the kids have been really good too about, sharing. Like, you can obviously see when something's up and asking them about it. And 9 times out of 10, they'll share, which is great, and I'll find out, so-and-so was mean to so-and-so. And, then I talk about, okay, well, how do you want to handle this? There was a couple instances where in my mind, I was like, oh, I would tell this little girl what to do, I would, which probably would not be the right advice for her. And I had to kind of swallow that and say, well, how do you feel about that? And how do you think she feels? And where do you want this to go? And I had to let her kind of lead that way. And just by telling myself, no, don't say that. And letting her kind of do that, I think was the right thing, because the way I grew up and did stuff necessarily wouldn't be, the right way for any of these kids to operate. So, it's a learning curve.
Yes.
Every day.
Yes. So definitely, again, your spiritual world, also your family values how important your family is.
Yes.
And, how important your work is to you too, because you have, as we talked earlier, you can really tell you have found your passion. You are in it, right?
I am 100%.
Yeah.
It's hard because as you talk about that, my own children, I can tell they're getting deprived a little bit. Like they get frustrated, like, oh, we have to go to your school. What team is this now?
Right.
So I think they kind of get it, but at the same time, they're a little frustrated. So trying to find the balance for me is really a struggle.
Yes.
And I'm working on that. So I bring them to a lot of the stuff. And the other night we went to volleyball. It was senior night. And it was the first time that Elizabeth was kind of like, oh, I want to see the score. I want to see how this team does. Before they were kind of not interested at all.
Right.
They just wanted to get the candy and then when do we get to go home? But she actually started to get involved and see the girls working together. So it was an important moment for me, because I felt like, okay,
sure.
This was important. We were tired, we were exhausted, but I'm glad we came back and that she got to witness the girls working together and celebrating, successing.
Yeah, like an attraction to all of that, right?
Yes.
Yes, sure. And then how about you? Like, when is there you time?
I don't, the only you time really is the first thing in the morning. And I try to get up, because if I don't get up, then there is no me time. But Joe's been really good. We really try to find time throughout the week, some point, where he has his time to go golf. If I need a day to, let's say, get my nails and toes done, or I just need a time to go to the gym or be by myself, we make it work for each of us.
Sure. And don't you find that if you don't take that time in the morning, your day is so different? So different. Isn't that amazing?
It really is. It's really what the motivator to get me up. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, if I know that staying in the bed is so much better,
right? But
in the back of my head, I know that if I got up and did what I did, I feel 10 times better.
Sure.
And the day just progresses way better.
Yeah. It's just such a centered time, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, I know you have to run because you have your next event to go to, right? But I wanted to close with what advice would you give, not only just someone who's on their career path, but also trying to find out their physical path, because that's such a challenge for a lot of people. What advice would you say on how to get started?
Okay. Well, first I would talk about what are they interested in? What do they like? What do they enjoy? Whether it's going for a walk in nature and hike, if it's playing some type of a game, whatever the case could be, you can find physical movement or activities in almost anything that you enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't tried pickleball, but I know so many people who love that.
Right.
I know that when we bring out the foosball table at school, I'm not necessarily using my legs or not, but then there's the mental piece and you're trying to coordinate with your hands. Just doing more than, I guess, being on a device, is really one way to start to think about, okay, what can I do that'll steer me in the path of,
mm-hmm.
I guess, health and fitness.
Sure. Sure. And one last question about, because I adore weightlifting. So there are so many people that are intimidated by going to the gym, right? Yes.
I wish that wasn't the case.
I know, me too.
I just wish we could make it so much more friendly for them to understand, I love I love working out. I love barbells. I love all that.
Yep,
so to me, that's just like, I get excited when someone has that. I'm like, oh, what are you going to do? Exactly. But I know that it's intimidating and it's so super hard. Just try your best, even if you just watch.
That's a good idea. Yeah, just go in and watch.
Just go in and watch. Do what you need to do. Kind of peek over there. If you see that same person, maybe kind of go over and ask them. Try not to be shy. I know it's easier said.
Yes, it is.
But
definitely
9 times out of 10, when I see someone that is doing something, and I'm like, wow, that is amazing. They are more than happy to share.
Right. Yes.
More than happy.
Yes.
And it's like a new best friend.
Yes. Totally agree with you on that.
So if you're intimidated or nervous, the best thing I can tell you is that it's always going to be a positive outcome.
I seriously think the hardest part is walking through the door.
I totally agree.
Yeah. Yeah.
It really is.
And that pressure of, what am I supposed to do?
I know.
Yeah.
It's true. There's so many, if that is really the case, there's so many, things on YouTube or any channels that at home you could privately learn some stuff.
Start there.
Yeah. Start there. And then then you make your way in.
And the beauty that I love now about all the research that's out there with Dr. Sims, Dr. Lyons, Dr. Wright, I mean, those ladies really bring it home about, lifting is not going to make you bulky.
No.
It's going to make you so strong. And so it really increases your confidence too.
100%.
Doesn't it? When
it
you start
really
to
does.
See yourself become stronger, it helps internally as well as externally.
100%. Then you're not as intimidated.
Right.
To ask a question, to do something.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Well, this has been such a joy. I mean, I could listen to you for hours. I'm serious. There's so many things that you have learned that are just invaluable, not only to students, but to older adults. Because you take it to the limit where you make sure you learn, right? Yes.
It's so true. No, I thank you for having me. This has been, it's been awesome. I've been super looking forward to it.
Same.
So I appreciate you thinking of me for this.
Yes. And love to have you back again.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much.
Yes.
All right. Terrific.